The morning is calm. The sky is pale gray, stretching over the frozen Atlantic horizon. A light wind whispers across the tarmac, rustling the flags above the hangars. Then it appears, a silhouette unlike anything seen before, hovering like a leviathan. The Hindenburg, nearly 245 meters long, casts a shadow over the crowd gathered below. Its fabric gleams faintly in the muted sunlight, polished and taut over the aluminum framework. Engines hum, a low, constant vibration that resonates through the bones of those watching. Spectators hold their breath. Children point. Journalists adjust cameras. Ground crew check mooring lines, but even they pause, caught between duty and awe. For some, this is the culmination of years of German ingenuity. For others, a symbol of human ambition touching the sky. Inside, passengers lean toward the windows. They see the airfield grow larger, the control ropes sway, the flagpoles rise. A steward passes, offering reassurances, smiles carefully practiced. They do not know the danger lying in the very gas that lifts them. Hydrogen, light, flammable, invisible. The Hindenburg slows. Its tail dips slightly. A mooring mast rises to meet it. The crowd feels tension like static electricity, a pause suspended in time. Cameras click. Radios broadcast excitement nationwide. And then, a spark, a sound that is almost a whisper at first, ripples through the air. The calm is broken. The world's largest airship is about to become history. In the early decades of the 20th century, the sky became a new frontier. Airships, elegant, elongated, and commanding, were symbols of national pride and technological ambition. Germany led this revolution. The Zeppelin, named after its inventor Count Ferdinand von Zeppelin, represented decades of engineering refinement. Rigid frames of aluminum and duralumin, covered in taut fabric, carried gas cells that could lift hundreds of tons. These massive vessels were not only vehicles, but monuments to human ingenuity. By the 1930s, airships had become both commercial transports and diplomatic instruments. They connected continents with a grace that airplanes of the time could not match. The Hindenburg was conceived as the pinnacle of this design philosophy, a culmination of decades of German aeronautical expertise. Measuring nearly 245 meters, it was longer than a football field is wide. Its hull contained 16 hydrogen-filled gas cells, providing lift while the skeleton maintained structural integrity. Each cabin, observation lounge, and dining area was designed to offer luxury in the air, a floating palace above the clouds. The Hindenburg's significance went beyond technology. In interwar Germany, it was a symbol of national resurgence. Following the humiliation of the First World War and the Treaty of Versailles, Germany sought avenues to project pride, innovation, and strength. The Zeppelin program, state-sponsored and meticulously documented, served this purpose. Thousands of engineers, craftsmen, and workers labored under strict oversight, each rivet and fabric panel a testament to national resolve. Its maiden flights demonstrated unprecedented capability. Transatlantic journeys from Germany to the United States were completed in record time. Passengers experienced smooth travel and luxurious amenities. Cabins with plush beds, dining halls with elegant tables, and promenades with panoramic windows. Unlike airplanes, airships glided silently, allowing travelers to observe the ocean below, the clouds above, and the curvature of the Earth on clear days. Operationally, Hindenburg flights required precise coordination. Crew members monitored ballast, engine output, and gas pressure constantly. Even small miscalculations could prove fatal. Hydrogen, abundant and inexpensive, was chosen for lift despite its volatility, because the United States restricted helium exports, leaving German engineers little alternative. Ground crews, trained to handle enormous mooring masts, coordinated meticulously, lowering and raising lines to stabilize the airship during takeoff and landing. The public was enthralled. Newsreels captured the Hindenburg crossing the Atlantic. Crowds gathered at docking sites, waving flags and applauding the aerial giant. Newspapers published photographs of its gleaming frame above New York Harbor or hovering over the German countryside. The airship was a marvel not only of aeronautics, but of spectacle, a fusion of engineering, culture, and national aspiration. Yet behind the glamour lay fragile realities. Hydrogen was as dangerous as it was efficient. Weather could transform a calm flight into a nightmare. Even routine moorings required dozens of personnel coordinating precise movements. Airships were vulnerable to storms, lightning, and static buildup. The complexity of operations demanded flawless execution from the crew. Any lapse could produce disaster. By 1936, the Hindenburg had completed several transatlantic crossings, each reinforcing the notion that Germany had achieved the pinnacle of airship design. The world watched. Engineers refined navigation systems. Passengers enjoyed unprecedented comfort, and the media celebrated German ingenuity. Yet each success also increased expectations, placing pressure on crew, engineers, and the state to deliver perfection. The Hindenburg was more than a vehicle. It was a symbol of possibility and vulnerability. The very hydrogen that allowed it to float also contained latent danger, invisible until ignited. In a world still learning to fly, these airships hovered on the edge of human ambition and risk. The stage was set for its fateful journey to Lakehurst, where ambition, technology, and human error would collide. The Hindenburg was more than an airship. It was a flying city. Its elongated frame, stretching 245 meters, contained 16 hydrogen gas cells capable of lifting over 200 tons. Beneath the skeletal hull, for Daimler-Benz diesel engines powered its flight, each propelling massive propellers that cut through the air with steady precision. Every aspect of the airship was engineered for balance. Ballast tanks adjusted for changes in weight. Mooring lines absorbed the impact of wind gusts, and sophisticated control surfaces allowed minute adjustments in pitch and yaw. Despite its size and elegance, the Hindenburg's operation was a precarious affair. Hydrogen, the lifting gas, was highly flammable. Crew members handled it daily, maintaining constant vigilance to prevent leaks. Even a single spark from static electricity or faulty equipment could ignite disaster. The choice of hydrogen, dictated by geopolitical limitations, helium was restricted by the United States, made each flight an exercise in both skill and caution. Ground operations were equally complex. Docking the airship required a coordinated effort involving dozens of crewmen and specialized masts. Mooring lines were hoisted, tensioned, and secured to prevent sway during landing. Weather conditions could complicate this process. Wind gusts could rip lines, rain could add weight, and electrical storms could endanger both ship and personnel. Training was rigorous. Every crew member practiced procedures until reflexive. Yet even perfect execution could not eliminate inherent risks. The Hindenburg was intended to demonstrate not only technical prowess, but also Germany's ability to dominate commercial aviation. Its routes connected Germany to North and South America, promising faster, more comfortable transatlantic travel than contemporary airplanes. Flights were meticulously scheduled, with careful consideration of wind patterns, storms, prevent overheating or mechanical failure. Hydrogen leaks, fuel miscalculations, or sudden weather changes could escalate into catastrophe. As the Hindenburg prepared for its final voyage to Lakehurst, these factors converged. The airship was loaded with passengers, mail, and cargo. Crew members followed standard procedures meticulously, aware of the dangers but confident in their training. The morning air was warm for May, and slight winds whispered across the landing field. Tension was subtle but present, an invisible counterpoint to the excitement of anticipation. International attention was intense. Journalists positioned cameras to capture history. Radio broadcasters prepared live reports. Crowds of spectators gathered, unaware that this ordinary landing would become extraordinary for reasons no one could foresee. The Hindenburg was about to demonstrate both the pinnacle of human achievement and the fragility of innovation. With its structure gleaming and engines humming, the airship descended toward the Lakehurst mooring mast, setting the stage for a tragedy that would forever mark the age of airships. Aboard the Hindenburg, every individual felt both awe and responsibility. Passengers moved through cabins adorned with polished wood, brass fittings, and plush carpets, aware of the enormity of the machine beneath their feet. Crew members, in contrast, carried the constant weight of operational vigilance. Pilots monitored instruments, adjusting engines and ballast to maintain steady flight. Engineers checked gas cells for leaks, listening for faint hisses that might indicate danger. Deckhands prepared mooring lines, coordinating with ground crews through hand signals and radios. Emotions ranged from exhilaration to anxiety. Children leaned against observation windows, marveling at clouds below. Businessmen reviewed schedules or correspondence, perhaps unaware of the volatile gas holding the airship aloft. Even seasoned crew admitted later that the Hindenburg's presence demanded respect. It was beautiful, powerful, and inherently fragile. The human element amplified every risk. Minor lapses, a misread instrument, a delayed response to shifting winds, a momentary distraction, could have outsized consequences. The passengers' trust in the crew and the machine rested on invisible, meticulous discipline. Angle 2. Technological, engineering marvel and inherent risks. The Hindenburg represented the zenith of airship engineering. Its aluminum framework provided both rigidity and lightweight strength, supporting 16 hydrogen gas cells capable of lifting over 200 tons. Diesel engines powered massive propellers, allowing speeds up to 135 kilometers per hour, while control surfaces maintained balance in variable winds. Ballast tanks compensated for fuel use and shifting cargo, ensuring smooth ascent and descent. Yet the very technology that enabled its grandeur was also a vulnerability. Hydrogen, lighter than air and abundant in Germany, was highly flammable. A single spark could ignite disaster. Structural stresses accumulated over long flights. Weather, mechanical failure, or human error could rapidly escalate minor issues. The Hindenburg's elegance concealed peril, an invisible tension between marvel and risk. Angle 3. Leadership, decisions, and operational oversight. Command decisions shaped every flight. Captain Max Pruss, experienced and disciplined, coordinated complex operations. Pilots, engineers, and deck officers executed carefully rehearsed procedures, from engine management to mooring line deployment. Ground supervisors at Lakehurst guided the final approach, factoring in wind, humidity, and the enormous airship's inertia. Yet decision-making always balanced safety, efficiency, and public spectacle. The Hindenburg was a showpiece of national pride. Delays, cancellations, or cautious landings carried reputational consequences. Leadership required managing competing pressures, operational safety, schedule adherence, and international expectations. Every choice carried weight, but the chain of command concentrated responsibility, leaving little room for improvisation during emergencies. The combination of human vigilance, technological brilliance, and leadership decisions created both triumph and tension. Beneath every awe-inspiring flight lay the invisible hazards that would converge on May 6, 1937. Flying the Hindenburg was an exercise in precision. Crew members coordinated engine output, ballast adjustments, and control surfaces to maintain a steady course. Every maneuver required awareness of the airship's immense inertia. Turning was slow, stopping even slower, and vertical adjustments demanded careful ballast management. Mooring at Lakehurst, the final phase of every flight, involved dozens of ground personnel handling thick lines to stabilize a 245-meter-long vessel. Operational protocols were rigorous. Crew drills simulated emergencies, from hydrogen leaks to sudden gusts. The sheer scale of the airship magnified minor errors. Even a small miscommunication could result in swinging lines, collisions, or structural stress. On May 6, 1937, operations proceeded under clear skies but variable winds. Standard procedures guided the approach, Yet the complexity of synchronizing ship and ground crew left little margin for unexpected events. Angle 5. Weather. Subtle forces with major consequences. Weather had always been an airship's invisible enemy. Calm air allowed smooth flight, while gusts, turbulence, or static charges created hazards invisible to passengers. On the morning of the Hindenburg's final landing, meteorological conditions were deceptively mild. Clouds were scattered, visibility high, and winds moderate. Yet the atmosphere carried latent static electricity, which would later play a critical role in the disaster. Hydrogen, highly sensitive to ignition, amplified environmental risks. Even slight electrical discharges from the mooring mast or the ship's fabric could trigger fire. Weather reports guided pilots and ground crews, but nature's subtle forces, static buildup, sudden gusts, microbursts, remained unpredictable. In the final minutes, these invisible hazards converged with human and mechanical factors. Angle 6. Cultural and media. Public fascination and pressure. The Hindenburg was more than a vessel. It was a cultural phenomenon. Newsreels captured its flights. Newspapers published photographs of the sleek silver hull cutting across the Atlantic. Radio stations broadcast live updates, bringing the excitement into homes across continents. Spectators gathered at docking fields, waving flags and cheering. Each flight was a media event, blending technological spectacle with national pride. This attention intensified operational pressures. Crew and commanders understood that errors would be magnified on a global stage. Safety had to coexist with performance, speed, and public expectation. Every approach to Lakehurst was not just a technical procedure, but a ceremonial demonstration. The interplay of culture, expectation, and aviation underscored the unique peril of this era. Human ambition soared alongside fragile technology. Angle 7. Safety and risk. Lessons in vulnerability. Despite meticulous engineering and training, the Hindenburg remained inherently vulnerable. Hydrogen's flammability, structural sensitivity, and reliance on coordinated human operation meant that minor lapses could escalate catastrophically. Procedures minimized risk but could not eliminate it. Every landing and takeoff carried a silent acknowledgement. Perfection was mandatory. Mode of long-distance passenger transport. Innovations in aircraft safety, navigation, and weather monitoring accelerated, shaped by the lessons learned from the Hindenburg tragedy. Public perception was indelibly altered. The images of the flaming airship seared into global consciousness, creating a lasting narrative of awe turned to horror. While airships had been celebrated for elegance and luxury, the disaster highlighted inherent risks invisible to passengers and spectators alike. Insurance policies were rewritten, safety standards tightened, and regulatory oversight of aviation increased dramatically. Hindenburg became synonymous with catastrophic failure, a cautionary emblem of technological overreach. The cultural impact extended to media and memory. Photographs, newsreels, and radio broadcasts ensure that the disaster remained part of the public imagination for generations. Authors, historians, and filmmakers revisited the story repeatedly, emphasizing both human bravery and technological hubris. Survivors' testimonies contributed personal perspectives, humanizing the tragedy and illustrating the tension between human ambition and vulnerability. Germany, which had celebrated the airship as a symbol of national pride, faced both shame and reflection. Engineers and designers acknowledged the risks inherent in hydrogen airship travel. The Hindenburg's destruction marked the abrupt end of Germany's Grand Zeppelin program, reshaping its approach to aviation and influencing subsequent innovations. The disaster demonstrated that even the most advanced engineering cannot overcome fundamental physical hazards or lapses in risk mitigation. Ultimately, the Hindenburg disaster reshaped global aviation, accelerated technological evolution, and left an enduring historical lesson. Ambition and innovation must be tempered with rigorous attention to safety, environmental variables, and operational limitations. The airship's destruction was not merely a failure of engineering. It was a convergence of human, technological, and environmental factors that highlighted the fragility of even the most magnificent creations. From the ashes of the Hindenburg rose a transformed aviation landscape, where lessons learned guided the evolution of safer skies and informed generations of engineers, pilots, and visionaries. The Hindenburg disaster remains one of the most dramatic reminders of the delicate balance between human ambition and the immutable laws of physics. For a brief moment, the airship had embodied the pinnacle of engineering, luxury, and national pride. Its silver hull, gliding over the Atlantic, symbolized the human desire to conquer the skies, to create beauty and function on a scale previously unimaginable. Yet, in a single instant, that symbol became a stark illustration of vulnerability, how elegance can mask danger, and how progress can be undone by factors beyond even meticulous control. The tragedy underscores the complex interplay of technology, environment, and human decision-making. Hydrogen, chosen for its lift and availability, was invisible in its danger. Static charges, operational pressures, and minute structural weaknesses converged in a fleeting spark that transformed marvel into catastrophe. Crew, passengers, and spectators all bore witness to the consequences of even small risks multiplied across massive systems. The disaster emphasized that innovation, no matter how advanced, must account for inherent hazards and the unpredictable forces of nature. Yet the story is also one of courage and resilience. Crew members guided passengers, risking their lives to save others. Civilians and emergency personnel acted with remarkable bravery amid chaos. Survivors carried memories of both terror and human compassion, preserving first-hand accounts that informed aviation safety and historical understanding. These acts remind us that while technology can fail, human courage endures. Historically, the Hindenburg disaster marked the end of the rigid hydrogen airship era and accelerated the rise of airplanes as the primary vehicle of long-distance travel. Aviation standards, engineering practices, and safety regulations evolved in response, shaping the future of flight. But beyond technical lessons, the disaster resonates philosophically. It reflects the limits of human ambition, the unpredictability of nature, and the responsibilities that accompany great technological power. The Hindenburg may have fallen from the sky, but its story remains aloft in memory, an enduring lesson that progress demands both ingenuity and humility. And in that reflection, we understand why the world remembers the Hindenburg, not only for the fire that consumed it, but for the lessons it continues to teach about human aspiration, risk, and resilience.